What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of That Is Scuffed Up. We're coming back after 2023 finally over. Now we have the new year, 2024. I hope everyone had a great Christmas and a happy new year. You're myself, Justin Lee, and Stephen Hayden holding a humongous trophy at his side. We'll talk about why he's holding that a little bit later. Unless you're following us on the LA Wolves OC page, you know exactly why. Stephen, how are you doing, and how has the past few weeks been for you?
It's been very stressful for me between traveling, coming back home, and then the first big main event we're have going on, where I'm spending 12-hour days out in the field 2 days in a row and things like that. They're very long days, and so. About a lot of soreness as a lot of being sore as we went to the new year, and still trying to get a little bit over some like stuffy nose and things like that. Had a sore throat a couple of days ago, but other than that, we're doing good. The body's healing, the body's getting better, and getting ready to get things right for the new year.
Pretty cool. Tell us a little bit. Where did you go exactly for vacation? Some of those places.
Yeah, so I have family in the Chicago area, in one of the suburbs of Chicago. We'll talk about the trophy a little on. I'll put that down. I went out there for a few days. Left Christmas Eve, and then we spent Christmas with them, all that stuff. And then I actually left my family vacation early. They stayed there until the 3rd of January, but I actually left. I flew home by myself on the 29th of December to get back at home for this tournament that we're going to talk about, that we participated in and had some very good success in. But I had to come back, help run it, help set a lot of things up. You know, they did a lot of setup without me there, which is great to see. But there's some stuff on the day, and the stuff during the days of running things and other stuff like that was a lot of what I was doing, as well as playing in it. So. I came back early and then was here by myself for a few days before picking up the rest of the family a few days ago. So that's what happened with me. So my body's still trying to catch up from that weekend.
Yeah, so let's talk about just a little bit, but before we get into deep dive of those nitty-gritty details, like we spoke about a couple weeks ago after taking a break from doing the shows and episodes, we still have some award stuff, so we'll talk about that a little bit later in the show. Obviously, the big thing is talking about the New Year's stuff, especially with the spring and summer seasons coming around. The schedules have been released finally, so we can preview that just a little bit after they were announced on the website. And but the big thing today, as a topic that we're talking about on today's episode, is the SoCal Winter Wiffle Ball Classic. Some different rules than we had last year. Obviously, we played in a tournament very similar to this last year, run the same by Dustin Staggs. This year, a little bit different, involving some more UWIFs rules, so to speak, but keeping it true to SoCal Wiffle Ball a little bit. I know there's some details, especially, increasing the number of innings and stuff like that, and using big bats. Do you have any offered details that you want to share with the audience about some of those details and more specifics about this tournament versus what we had last year?
Yeah, so we mentioned this a little bit, like some of our earlier podcasts last year, some of our very first ones, things like that. This year compared to last year, that we had the big bro bats, we could use the cut balls. There was no speed limit, and the mound distance was moved back by about 6 feet or so. Still the same base running, still relatively same size of the field. Just an extra player can be in the field, things like that. You can have 4 players instead of 3 at a time. Just different stuff like that. No pitching requirements either. Last year there was, especially for the elimination games, your starter had to go 2 innings, and you had to have someone else go the 3rd inning, and then after that it's free range. But nothing like that for this year. As you pitch as long as you want, or as long as you're able to, in some people's cases, but. That's some of the differences that went on. I mean, also a big one is the fact that last year was my first time meeting Dustin and things like that, and having him run the tournament. This year, I was a big part in helping him run the tournament. Just the stuff we've been through together, whether it be through OC football or outside of OC football and things like that. So those are some of the differences we have between the tournament this year compared to last year. And also, I mean, we'll talk about how we did as well, how that was different from this year compared to last year as well.
Certainly so. So before we really get into it about what exactly happened on the day of, you were actually part of the draw pool play draw video that came out. That was the Friday before. That's where they select all the teams and which groups they go into. You're helping out with that a little bit. I know we previewed some of the guys in our teams. Did you want to preview maybe some of the people that we saw out there, maybe the teams a bit, or the groupings and how those were structured a little bit?
Yeah, there were some pretty good teams out there. One of the ones that was kind of seen as the best, and we'll talk more about them at the very end, is the Las Vegas Pharaohs, who they've had success at the previous tournaments, but they brought in a guy like Randy Dalby to help them out, joining along with the Trevor Bauer, the Tom Gannon, and then Logan Christie as a captain. That was seen as one of the better teams, as well as a team like SoCal football, which has a few guys that I've played with within SoCal football, and like Dustin Staggs, Ethan Johnson, and Cannon Rabbit, as well as having a guy like Jackson Blum, who was one of the top U17 players in the country, and then also bringing a guy like Chris Cornelius, who I did not know but he's a D2 pitcher over at Cal State Dominguez Hills, I believe it is. And I know he's touching. I've heard he's touched 94 in baseball, and I've heard he's able to touch 103 in wiffle ball. So that was a scary good team. The Whippets are another one. Usually they would have Randy Dalby go with them to these big tournaments, like the World Championship stuff like that. But this time they didn't. But they still had a very good team. They were supposed to have Sylvie Serrano, who was just part of the Usual Suspects World Championship winning team. We'll talk more about that later on, though. You had some other teams on there. Some of our own guys. Obviously we had our team. We had the team called the Master Batters, which we'll talk about a little later. The Five Guys with some we'll talk about later as well, with some players that used to play in OC wiffle ball. We had the Plastic Pitches made their return. They were part of the draw. There were a couple other teams as well. Some guys who had been out there and some guys who had not been out there before. So, but yeah, I was part of that live draw. Me and Dustin did do the live draw for that on YouTube. I mean, Dustin did a lot of it. I was just more for like commentary and stuff, kind of help organize stuff and get names into the sheets and stuff. But yeah, the draw went on that day. We took care of it. We did it like 10:30 at night or something where I was in Chicago, so I had to do it while I was away, and that was a struggle because there was a whole computer issue with me, and the fact that I didn't bring a charging cord with me, so I had to use a different computer to have it done. But yeah, that was taken care of, and we ended up getting our group, which I'll talk more about the people in our group as we get through our individual games.
Yes, sir. And I think we can give you a little preview of how the first day would go. Backtrack to about a year ago. One of the biggest things that came around in that tournament last year was the fact that we had rain. Rain was a big part of that tournament last year. If you ever followed us early on, if you have following us that early on, congrats to you. I don't know how you're able to do that.
One of the few.
Yeah, one of the few, exactly. Started the fan base there.
Hi, Mom.
There you go. Hi, Mom. Mine's too, I guess. But one of the things was it was pouring. The fields were completely puddled with water. You're down to maybe your ankles in the mud, and nobody could run, basically. And me and Jordan went down a slippery slide on the hill that's just on the backside towards the elementary school over there where we played those games. This year, my hope was that there wasn't going to be any rain. It did rain a bit the day before, and we came in, and it rained just a little bit, but compared to last year, not as much as it did, which made it a little better, but still a soggy day once we were done with all the games. So coming in, it started the game started around 8 a.m. And our first game would have been against the Master Batters. Give us a little more details about that.
Yeah, well, let me before I do that, let me kick back to that rain aspect. Part of what also made that really bad as well was the fact that some person decided to do donuts in the middle of a park, in the middle of a grass park the night before. So one of the fields was also ruined by having tire tracks in the middle of it. So that's a whole other story. But this year it wasn't as muddy. It got muddy on one of the fields near the end because of how much running there was around the base paths, how many home runs were hit. But overall, this year, they felt like the rain affected more things than last year. But originally, there wasn't supposed to be any rain until about a week before the tournament. I checked the weather forecast and I saw there was supposed to be, it was like an 85-90% chance of rain. It's like, okay, here we go again. Might as well just get called the rainy classic or something like that. But it seemed like the rain affected more things this year compared to last year. But last year was definitely a lot more muddy. And also the fact there were some improvements made, especially in terms of mats. There were a lot more mats for the pitchers and hitters as well, compared to last year where there were not any, which could have been useful for you, especially in one instance against the Pharaohs last year. But that's a video that's been shared online for sure. But yeah, it was very interesting, and especially that Saturday morning, it was pouring pretty hard. But going into our first game here, we have our first game of the day right at 8 a.m. was against the Master Batters, which consisted of some OC wiffle ball guys. You had Ethan Lee and Chris Lee. Ethan Lee, who's the captain of the OC Wiffles of LA, and then Chris Lee played with us, played with we'll see in the OC Summer Classic. And then you had three guys from the Beach Bombers as well, in Tyler Moore, Charlie Phillips, and Will Contrell. That's the five they had. They had those five going to the game, and for us, we detailed our team last week. It was me, Justin, Jordan, Tommy, and James. This was an interesting first game. It was kind of a get the cobwebs off and get the rest off going. They had Chris Lee going for them in the first game. We had Jordan Dressler pitching for us. We scored one run right in the first. Jordan did struggle a little bit with some control. He's been learning how to use the cut balls, which that's another thing this tournament uses. The balls cut this time instead of just scuffed. So he was trying to figure those out and just work on hitting the zone consistently. Ended up walking in some runs. He did throw a no hitter, but at the end of the day, he threw 4 innings. He did allow 6 runs. But so a lot of walks going on for both teams until we got to the 4th inning. The 4th inning, Master Batters were actually winning 5-4. They were the home team, so as long as they just held us, they would have won the game. However, Ethan Lee came into the game, threw some strikes, but not enough to get anybody out. And then Tommy Hernandez hit a grand slam to make it a 10-6 ball game, a 10-5 ball game, putting us up big. And then they ended up scoring one more. I had a good double play that almost turned into a triple play, but when I couldn't get the third out at home, which Tyler Moore scored. So we ended up winning that one 10-6. Relatively close game, a little closer than I would have personally liked it, but it was good to save my top 3 arms. Jordan got to throw his game, and I got to save Tommy, myself, and James for later games.
Yeah, the mats really helped. I think that was a big thing throughout this tournament. I think Dustin definitely learned his lesson last year after pulling his calf during one of the games that actually was against us last year. So those really helped in terms of the slipping and everything like that. I know the bases were kind of like run down by the time we were running around some of those fields. Master Batters, that isn't an appropriate name, okay? If your mind's in the gutter, get out of here. But it's always fun when you're playing against a team of people you know. Very coincidentally, of course, it's against the team that is my brothers and with some of the people that we play in the OC Wiffle Ball. But again, still, at the end of the day, very fun to be able to face off against people that you know. I think also the other thing that you're going to notice as we're talking about these first couple games is walks are a big thing in these early games, especially because a lot of teams are conserving the best pitchers that they have, or there's just inexperience, and usually the guys that they usually put in, and I don't know if you could probably agree to this, but usually those guys that they first put in are throwing a lot of balls per se.
Yeah, that can definitely be the instance for sure. For some people, there is in some teams, there's definitely a hierarchy in terms of who's the best pitcher. You have your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pitchers and things like that. And usually with some of these smarter teams out here like us, like SoCal Wiffle, like the Whippets and like the Pharaohs, who spoiler, that ended up being the Final Four, but those teams saved. They were throwing their number 3 and 4 arms on Saturday, saving their number 2, 1 and 2 arms for the Sunday run to try to continue on through that path. But I'll talk more about that as we go on, because some teams were better at organizing their Saturday and Sundays than others, and we kind of got screwed because of that.
Yeah, that is for sure. This was the first one that we would get. The next game that we would have had a pretty long break in between some of these games. That just comes with how the way things were kind of organized, and that's how it goes with wiffle ball sometimes. Game 2 was actually against the Five Guys. Not mistaking the burger places, they did not show up as Five Guys people, which is surprisingly like 8th on my list of best burger places.
Okay.
It's too greasy, man. That burger's too greasy. Or maybe I just had a really bad one. I don't know. Anyways,
maybe you just like the safe money.
I like In-N-Out. In-N-Out, Habit, whatever.
All the East Coast people are pissed at you.
Yeah, I know, they definitely are. Maybe Whataburger? Whataburger was okay. Anyways, so this is actually a team with a bunch of people that we can throw back to the good old spring days of OC Wiffle Ball, because they had Mitchell Downing, PJ, I almost said Walker Gordon, and Bobby Petty, who were part of the Diablos team that we played in the World Series in the spring season last year. I can actually say that now. And they had a few other guys, Trent Lyle and Brian Owens, a part of that squad. So this was an interesting throwback to this team that we used to play, who are very formidable. And surprisingly, they threw PJ Walker, or PJ... there I go, man. PJ Gordon at us.
The former NFL quarterback. Yeah, he came out to play.
Always mix that one up. Anyways, PJ Gordon was the one that they threw at us for pitching in this game, including one other guy. I'm forgetting his name. Between 50-50 chance. Trent Lyle, I'm thinking.
Yeah. So this was very interesting. I just mentioned, some teams were better at organizing their pitching staff and saving their pitchers more than others. Before the game, PJ and they were kind of joking. It's like, hey, we want you to pitch, Steven, because we want to have you versus PJ. I was like, okay, there's no way you should be pitching PJ right now, and I'm definitely not pitching this game if I don't need to. Or at least I'm not starting this game, which I ended up pitching this game, and I'll get to that in a bit. But they actually did throw PJ this game, and he did throw very well. He threw 3 innings, didn't give up a single run, it kept us off balance and things like that. So, and then for us, we had Tommy Hernandez coming in for his first game of the day. He struggled to find the strike zone. We had the second inning, we had nobody out there, and by that he had walked in 6 runs. I hadn't had a single hit off of him, and by that time I was like, okay, I need to come in and try to save this game. I don't want this game to become a mercy if possible. So I did have to throw a few innings, but that was not the plan at all. That was wasn't the happiest that I came in that game, but it is what it is. And then the third inning I pitched, I was kind of messing around a little bit, lost some accuracy, and ended up letting in a few runs. But hitting wise, our bats weren't there either. I had a hit in the first inning versus PJ. Other than that, we didn't really have any hits going on there. A lot of swings and misses from everybody. And I know Tommy had talked about, he wasn't quite as ready or was taking it as seriously as he should have at that point. Just kind of just for getting ready and stuff like that. We ended up taking a 9-0 loss in pool play.
Yeah, interesting enough. I don't know. I kind of joked a little bit that it was in spite of us beating them in 2023 spring season. But obviously, I'm sure that wasn't the case at all.
And they did a very similar thing to us in the regular season of that season as well. They beat us 13-2
Yeah,
during the regular season, and then we beat them in the playoffs, which we'll talk more about them later
which is
as
interesting.
well.
Yeah, this is very coincidental about what happens later. So I have a question for you actually, and I might put you on the spot a little bit here, but was there any thought of maybe putting Jordan in over Tommy in that situation, or is that your first thought was to save the game and just have your arm mixed in there? Because I know most people wanted to save their arms in that situation, but I just want to get your thoughts about that moment.
Yeah, at that point, so at that point it was 6-0. We had walked. Tommy had walked in 3 runs in the first inning, and already not getting it out. He had already walked in 3 runs in the second inning. And at that point, Jordan had pitched his 4 innings. I knew he was kind of done pitching wise. And so luckily I know myself very well because I am myself. I know I'm very capable of pitching multiple days. I just knew I was possibly going to pitch a little bit the third game depending on how it was going. But I said, I'm going to pitch this game, and I'm not going to pitch the third game, and I'm just going to try to get us through. I kind of kept throwing the same pitch over and over again, to be honest, but just kind of mess around a little bit with some stuff, and I was able to do pretty well, make sure we did get mercy in that game. But for me, I know my strength. I know I'm just a workhorse out there. I can get a ton of innings out there. I got a ton of innings this week, which is why I was so sore afterwards. And I just played catch. Today's the 4th as we're recording. Just played catch for the first time since then. And my arms now feeling better after not feeling good for the last couple of days, but. It's one of those situation is this what the situation was. It just happened. I wasn't the biggest fan of it, but I didn't want to put Jordan in there cold, having him get cold after just throwing 4 innings and things like that. So that was my thought process behind it.
I see. You know who else knows themselves pretty well? The master batters. Anyways, no, going on game. It's not an inappropriate name, man. It's an
I'm just curious where you're trying to go with that.
Some people will understand. Some people might not. People
with I don't get it.
People with the PC, yeah, you're with the pure mind. So people with the pure mind would understand that.
Okay.
Game 3 that we've got. This was so by this point, a lot of these fields were really feeling it in terms of how destroyed they. See, now there you go. Because for the first couple games, it was already raining a tad bit and almost heavily at one point. So around this time, when we got to game 3, the fields were pretty much in a puddle. Especially this field when we played against SoCal Riptide, there was a lot of dirt on this field that was kicking up. So a lot of mud on this field, and it just looked. The condition on this field looked really, really bad at this point. But this was against a team of people that we know as well, actually, in Joaquin and Vinny Cassell. We played them in a few tournaments. Joaquin, at one point, was an OC Wiffle of LA for a couple of games, and then had to leave because of school and other sports commitments. And then obviously some of their guys as well. Good group of guys. They're the next kind of generation of wiffle ball players that are up and coming. And so we played them. What did you think about this game?
Yes, so this game, this just to give the result, we actually lost this game on a walk-off walk again. Lost this one 4-3. We had a couple hits going here. I did have a hit or two. I also had a couple others that just missed. I'm trying to think of who else exactly had a hit on the team. But I know there were other people. I can't remember them off the top of my head. But they had Joaquin Jimenez pitching for them. Their aces. Just each game we played the other team's ace in pool play, which was very interesting to see. I'll talk more about why that was so big late after this game. But Joaquin wanted to pitch against us, especially the fact that we had James Lee, who usually plays with Joaquin and Vinny, but I was able to get him for this tournament and things like that. So we were winning through. Actually, we had a big situation. These games are 4 innings. We were top of the 4th inning. We had bases loaded, 2 outs. I was up to the plate. I had an 0-2 count on me, and I got hit with a ball in the face. I got hit in the face, which in the fast pitch rules and in SoCal rules, that means that you it's an automatic walk if you get hit in the face, which I didn't want to. This just was it just happened.
Hmm.
So we ended up scoring a run to make it 2-1. We ended up getting another walk to make it 3-1. Then I believe whoever it was, they struck out next to end the inning. I can't remember who it was, but that doesn't matter. I think it was you. Kidding.
Might be. I don't know. I might
I
be.
think it actually, yeah, I think it actually was you. But uh, then we go to the bottom of the fourth. We're up two. I think the Riptide had one hit in that inning, and then it was just some more walks. Tommy was locked in for the first three innings of that game, but the fourth inning he did lose it a little bit. And the Riptide were a team they were basically looking to walk, in lack of a better word, and they ended up getting the 4-3 victory here. So after that first three games of pool play, we ended up going 1-2, which was kind of a shock to me, and a shock to even Dustin at the tournament and things like that. It was a shock to have our team go 1-2 through pool play, but it just happened. You know, we didn't get the job done those two games, so that we could have very easily won those, but we just didn't do the job.
Nothing wrong with it either, though. I mean, you and I both know that we've played from behind in terms of seedings in OC with football and come back on top. It just kind of happens. Expectations kind of go out the window when you get there. I'm sure you're expecting to go 3-0 on the day, or at least 2-1, probably for the better. But it ended up being that we had to face off some of their best pitchers, especially with SoCal Riptide and the five guys. It's kind of how it went. SoCal Riptide just wasn't swinging at the very end. I know you talked to Tommy a little bit before, moving on with some of those batters. I know you wanted him to finish the game, and obviously that's not what happened. But it's a good thing it was pool play rather than in those key moments in those later games in day two. And the one time they decided to swing was off of a 3-2 pitch to Joaquin. Basically a desperation foul ball, and Tommy threw another pitch, and it turned out to be the walk-off walk that they needed to secure that victory. Just kind of how it goes.
Yeah, I mean there was a point where we were up 3-1. They had bases loaded. We had two outs, I believe. I thought about putting myself in to finish that deal off. But I did want. I know Tommy's been working hard. I know he wants to get better as a two-way player, especially in the fast pitch scene, which you may see him with OC with ball pretty soon as well. I've been in talks with him, but I wanted to give him a chance to finish it off. Unfortunately, this time it didn't work out for him, but I think he's gonna learn from this, and I think he's gonna improve and be better for next time. But it's also one of those things. At the end with this style of tournament, at the end of the day, pool play didn't matter a whole lot. It was just more for like seeding and stuff for Sunday. Which when we look back at it, actually losing this game might have been the best thing for us in terms of seeding and which side of the bracket we're on. But that's the other big thing about the balance between when to use your best pitchers and when not to. You haven't heard the name James Lee yet in terms of pitching. There's a very good reason for that, and you barely heard my name. There's a very good reason for that, and the fact that we faced three aces on Saturdays is very. It was. I was more worried for them, to be honest, about how sore those guys would be, how sore would PJ be, how sore would Joaquin be, especially Joaquin who had already pitched two games at that point. So,
Mm-hmm.
that's the way I saw it. And at the end of the day, us going 1-2 was not the end of the world for me. It actually ended up working out pretty well for us.
Yeah, which is a good thing. So we'll get to day two in a bit, but before things kind of just go that way in that direction, we had a home run derby that was to be handled before the day was over, so we had to get that out of the way with the home run derby. So,
Oh man.
so interestingly enough, that same field that we played SoCal Riptide ended up being the field that we used for the home run derby. So it'd be about remind me how many people were in that home run derby.
Home run. So home run derby. You know, one of the things I haven't talked about this for this tournament is also the pool prize for both winning the home run derby, for winning the whole tournament in general, and then also getting second place in the whole tournament in general. So starting off for the home run derby. Home run derby was $25 to enter, but the winner does get $250 and a trophy, which there's a reason I have that trophy over there. But home run derby, we had 11 people participate. We were supposed to have 12, but Joaquin was busy doing some other interview stuff and ended up not being able to participate. So we had 11 people participate in this. From our team, we had 3 players participate. In Justin Lee, Tommy Hernandez, and myself. And actually, there was an Instagram post made about this, which I'm going to look at right now. So Justin Lee and Tommy Hernandez both finished with 3 home runs, which put them tied for 6th overall in the home run derby. In this one, the top three home run hitters from the first round make it into the final 3, and we have a final there between those 3. So, unfortunately for Tommy and Justin, that was not enough for them to be able to make it to the final. However, Stephen Hayden did come in 3rd place in the first round with 5 home runs, while the first and second place were tied with 6. Actually, I needed my last home run here to be able to. I needed that last pitch of the 30 seconds to get to 5. So I just avoided the swing off, and I was able to move on to the next round of the home run derby, luckily. But you and Tommy did have good efforts as well. It's just compared to the rest of the people, it wasn't quite enough.
Yeah, especially some like the guys from who was it, the Pharaohs and whatnot. They had some crazy different bats or whatever, including some of the other players out there. They had some really like big bats, so they have plenty of experience in terms of home run hitting. So they had more power, so to speak. I thought 3 was going to be enough within 30 seconds. Obviously, that wasn't the case. And I guess it's just a good thing to have somebody that to cheer on in the home run derby in that way. And I'm glad. I think I pitched to you, right? Yeah. I'm glad that it worked out, because usually when I pitch,
did you pitch to me?
It was either you or
no? It was Tommy.
It was Tommy. Okay, yeah.
I know for sure it was Tommy in the final.
I was gonna say, because usually when I pitch to you, it doesn't work out. So
yeah, I was gonna say you are not pitching to me.
Yeah, so that's probably a good.
We've discussed this on the podcast.
There. Yeah.
Yeah, we discussed this on the podcast before. But the top 3, Tom Gannon with 6 from the Las Vegas Pharaohs. You have Alec Ochoa with 6 also from the Fullerton Phoenix in the tournament, and then you had myself with 5. And then we get on to the final round. Because I had hit the least amount, I had to go first, which actually worked out very well for me, because I was the last person to go, because I was kind of running the home run derby. So I said, I'm putting myself last, and I'm going to see how many I need. This one, we had 45 seconds to hit as many as we can. I ended up hitting 10 home runs in 45 seconds, which is kind of big for me, because I usually suck at home run derbies. The people who have been to the All-Star games at OC Wiffle know that I am not very good at home run derbies at all at OC Wiffle. The only time I've been good was when I went out to York, Pennsylvania, and I had 15 in a minute. But I think I needed 26 to move on, which that's just stupid. But yeah, that's fine. But anyways, I ended up getting 10. Next person to go was Tom Gannon, who didn't have as good of a round as he did the first round. He ended up only getting 5. And then this was the part where I got a little nervous. So when we were in Arizona, Alec Ochoa actually won the home run derby at the BLW Arizona tournament. He had 8. That was based off the rounds. That was 7. He ended up hitting like 22 or something like that. Ran away with it. Then he won a plaque. He had. I think they had a story about him in the paper in Arizona, things like that. Just some crazy stuff. So he was in there. I was like, I'd kind of accepted second place already, but. I got very lucky. He only finished with 9. So your boy came out on top, and this is what this trophy is for. If you could see, if it shows correctly with the lighting and stuff, I might have to do it like this. You can see home run derby champion for there, presented by SoCal Wiffle. Last year, Cannon Rabbit was the winner. Who Cannon Rabbit did participate this year, did not make it to the final, but I was able to come away with it this year. I just beat out Alcocha, who had 9. Justin was counting them out there, so I appreciate you telling me he only had 9 instead of 10.
There
So
was one that was very close in left field. I had to make sure that that one was out, and so that kind of determined that that was 9. So, I you slipped me a 20, so it's fine, you know.
yeah, some kind of money, something, who knows? But
Yeah.
I ended up winning that. I won that trophy, obviously, and also came away with $250. So not a bad afternoon at all. So
What are you gonna do
uh,
with $250?
so no comments. So
Wow.
but that's how things turned out with the home run derby, and that's how our day ended on Saturday. A little bit of a disappointing day for us, but I knew we had myself and James ready to pitch, who I built our team around. Was the two of us, and so things were just going to be ready for Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, you're probably having a good day, you know, getting $250 winning a home run derby. Funny enough, that trophy was actually meant to be for a second place team for the tournament. The actual home run derby trophy, I think, was broken or something like that. But that's still a pretty sick trophy, huge.
Yeah, so
That
it's
must
it's,
be
it's a
nice.
big trophy. It's just about your height. So
You son of a.
you thought you were getting away with it.
Always the short jokes. All right. Well, so we go back. So we go to home, go to bed, get ready for day 2, get things set up, and here we are. If you make the lower seeds, you have to play a fourth game. If you were in the higher seeds, you get a bye for the first round or so. So we come in around 9 o'clock or so, and we're faced up against the Long Beach Wiffle Ball team. If you don't know who these guys are, this is a team of youngsters, about what would you say, like 11, 12-year-old kids,
Eighth, ninth graders.
8th, 9th graders. These guys are actually pretty good, so don't underestimate their ability, because actually you played them, I think, in a final back in the summertime with Dustin, correct? So,
Yeah. I'll talk about that a little bit. Yeah, these are some guys from the Long Beach area. Last year at the SoCal Winter Wiffle Classic, they were a semifinalist team. They lost out to the team who ended up being the runner-up, but they had a very good tournament here. They also were one of the finalists in the third summer tournament of the year,
yeah.
which they actually had a lead on Dustin and I until I hit a 3-run homer and changed things. But we ended up winning that one. But they are a very good squad. They were missing a couple of their best players,
Yeah.
so it was a little bit of a struggle for them. But they went 0-3 in their group play. They had a tougher group. They had the Pharaohs and SoCal Wiffle in their group, and then they lost their other game.
Yeesh.
But they're not as familiar with with the faster pitch style of play. At this point, they're still growing. They're still young, and they're going to get a lot better as they get older and things like that. But for this game, we started this one around 9 o'clock. I put myself out on there on the mound. I said, we're not messing around. I'm not. I have too much respect for them to throw someone else out there. So I said, if we're throwing today, I'm throwing today. So we get there. They're struggling a little bit on the mound with some pitching. Just some stuff, just struggling to hit the zone and stuff. We end up after the first inning, we were up 4-0. Same with the second inning as well, and then the third inning, some more stuff broke open. I let off things with a single off the fence, some more walks. We're up 7-0, and then Justin gets a ball off the hands into right field. 3 runs end up scoring. That ends up being a 10-0 Mercy through 3 innings for a victory for OC Wiffle Ball. Some changes in the lineup and some little defense stuff and some pitching stuff. I had a good pitching performance, and we ended up getting that first victory of the day.
Yeah, good to build a little bit of momentum early on, especially for a long day of wiffle ball, because as we talk about these other games that we're going to get to here, these are really, really good teams. These are people who have so much experience in wiffle ball tournaments. They've been to upland tournaments. We played against some of these guys. These guys can get up to about 80 to 90 miles per hour. So, it's a good way to get the arms and the bats and the pitches warmed up. So it was definitely good. For Long Beach Whiffs, though, they're a young group of guys. They're putting themselves in a situation where they get a little bit of a taste of how crazy wiffle ball can be. And as they get older, sure, they'll grow taller, they'll develop bigger arms, and they'll be really good at some point. They have a lot of good potential, so nothing to be wrong with here. Losing 0-3 in pool play and then losing to a pretty good team, in my opinion, in the OC wiffle ball team that you put together.
Yeah, especially with them missing 2 or 3 of their best guys as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of those. They're gonna learn and they're gonna keep getting better. And I can definitely see that from them. But that was a 7-10 matchup. So we were the 7th seed. The Long Beach Wisps were the 10th seed. So we ended up winning that matchup to officially get the 7th seed and move on into the round of 8. Where we have to go play the 2 seed. Which what do you know? Funny enough, we're playing 5 guys again. We get PJ Trent, we get Bobby Mitchell, and no Brian Owens this time. We knew he wasn't going to be there for Sunday. He was just there for Saturday. So
technically,
that was a matchup we got.
Yeah, technically the 4 guys at this point in this case, because they're missing somebody. This was a very interesting game, and like I said earlier, coincidentally, losing to them in regular season / pool play, you face them in what is basically the playoffs of this tournament, and you end up getting a pretty good game here. They had PJ Walker in there for a little bit. And
PJ Walker, yeah.
Yeah, there we go again. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I got to get that out of my head, man. PJ Gordon pitched the first...
free promo on here. Oh, my goodness.
PJ Walker, come get your free promo. Anyways. Yeah, so he pitched the first 3 guys, pitched to Jordan, and then when I came up, they switched him out for another person. And that's kind of what opened the doors in. I know you have more details. I'm trying to remember the name, but go ahead.
Yeah. So this team is also kind of it's got three guys that were on the Diablos back in the fall of 2022 or the spring of 2023, as well as 3 of those same guys playing the Bomba Llamas in the SoCal League as well. So they have experience out there, and obviously they went 3-0 on Saturday. We ended up getting the number 2 seed based off of run difference and stuff like that. They had PJ Gordon start against us again. PJ just pitched a few innings against us the day before. I think he struck me out, and then he walked the next 2 guys. And this is the thing I talked about with saving your top pitchers and things like that. PJ was sore going into Sunday after pitching against us, and just wasn't quite ready to, especially for them not being their first game of the day, whereas we're our second. We were ready to go. They brought in Trent Lyle to come in and pitch. And James Lee gets things started in the first inning, hitting a 3-run home run. Trent was 1 strike away from getting out of the inning, but James gets a hold of one, puts a 3-run homer over the fence. And then I go back to back with him. I hit a solo shot myself off of Trent, and we end up giving us a 4-0 lead right after going into the bottom of the first inning. From that point on, it was kind of cruise control for both teams. PJ came back in and he pitched well. And James Lee made the start for us. He made his first pitching appearance, which James kind of wanted me to start, but I told him, was like, 1, I want to make sure you pitch in this tournament, and 2, I'm between OC football, SoCal football, and stuff. I had faced off against those guys so many times. They know me so well. They're going to eventually get around to me, whereas they don't really know you at all, and they did not really know James much at all. James kept working shutout inning after shutout inning. I think only a couple balls were put in play. The only person really seeing him all right was Trent Lyle. I think he had one line drive / pop up to me in the outfield, but no more scoring until the 5th inning. Top of the 5th inning, 2 outs. James strikes out looking. The first pitch to me, I hit it to. I finally got another home run off of PJ. Hit one to center field to make it a 5-0 game. And then James finishes the job, shuts out the game for a 5-0 victory as the 7th seed upsets the 2 seed.
Yes, sir. This is a big one for us, especially when you're talking about saving the most important rounds, because the difference of what we've had in the past is that we haven't had like a super big arm in those fast situations. No, I mean like us next to you. I was gonna get to that point. Like you were there, but then we didn't have the second guy. Yeah.
Sure.
So especially in those upland tournaments, we had you, and then there would be maybe like Jordan or
That was about
yeah, and
it.
that was pretty much it after that point, unless you count me, but I don't pitch that fast.
No, we don't count you.
Yeah. So the big thing is that we have James Lee now, so that kind of changes out because now we might be contender, for so to speak, in this, and that leads us to what happens in the next game, which would be the Whippets. This is a team that actually won this tournament last year. In the classic for SoCal. They won it with a couple of other guys, including Brendan Mayo, who was part of that squad as well. You said they were supposed to have a guy from Usual Suspects a part of that team as well. Ended up being 3 guys. We know 2 of the guys very well. Monkabee. We know Pete. We ran into him at Newport one time. Really nice guys. They're really fun group of guys to play against, especially with the amount of experience that they have in these tournaments. They know wiffle ball very well, so you have to really respect it once you start getting to the level that these guys really, really play at. So the expectation was like we really gotta like just be careful of what we're doing at bat and watching these pitches and being able to do what we can, especially against a really good group of guys like this. Meanwhile, I believe it was the Dustin's team playing against the Pharaohs, which luckily was not. It was a good thing for us because we didn't want to face against those guys early on in this second day of play. So it was kind of either them or us type of deal, but. Good thing it was us against Whippets. Go ahead and go off about this one.
Yeah. I was wondering why
I was gonna give you time.
We came in against the Whippets. And we're supposed to have he has played with a bunch of different teams, but he played with the Usual Suspects this year. Named Sylvie Serrano from the Oakland area. Unfortunately, due to some family health stuff, he was not able to come out to this tournament. So it ended up being Peter Monkabee, who runs those upland tournaments that we've been to. They have Pete Tainton, who you talked about, and then they also had another guy named Darren Eastley, who another lefty batter from them. So I wanted to give James a break from pitching. I don't want to pitch too many innings in a row. And I possibly want to save him for the final if we get there. So I started pitching this game. Right away the first inning, I gave up a 2-run home run to Darren Eastley. Just kind of a 3-2 pitch. That's one of those I said I'd take a strike over a walk, and I threw the same pitch like 3-4 times in a row, and he got around, turned on one, and sent it up to center field for a 2-run home run. Other than that, I did pretty well on the mound, except we just couldn't get the bats going. We'd get a walk or 2 each inning, but then I mean, Pete's a very good pitcher, a very crafty pitcher, and had us swinging at some stuff that wasn't close. So we end up getting through 4 innings, still a 2-0 game. Great double play by James Lee in center field, almost turned into a triple play for the athleticism of Peter Mockabee diving back into first base. I was able to get out of the inning with a 2-0 deficit as we enter the top of the 5th inning. Who was, by the way, we're the 6th seed. They had to beat the Plastic Pitches and the Hoffmans and Shaden Hendrickson to get to this spot. Who the Hoffmans and Shaden Hendrickson had beaten them the day before, but the Whippets came back and beat them 2-0 on Sunday. So we go top of the 5th inning here, and I finally tell guys, it's like, okay, let's actually not try to chase stuff for once and just be real patient. At that point, that was Pete's 10th inning in a row pitching. Plus, he had pitched a little bit on Saturday, and they kind of got screwed over a little bit by Sylvie not being there. But I just knew Pete was getting tired. We were going to try to make him work and throw strikes. He ended up walking the first 5 batters in a row to make the score 3-2 in favor of us. Well, actually, no, he didn't walk the first 5. He walked the first one. Jordan that had what would have been a fielder's choice, but the peg was not in time at second base. Then 3 more walks follow up. I ended up getting the game tying RBI as a walk. Tommy gets the game leading walk RBI for a walk, and then Jordan had a weird spinner off the end of the bats Spins towards the third base side, gets touched by Pete Tainton on the mound, and Justin Lee, you do some weird barrel roll into home plate. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but no, there was no home plate, play at home plate, so you didn't have to. Luckily, you didn't have to do it to go too hard into there, but
I wasn't.
Ends up being a 4-2 game. What?
I wasn't paying attention. I was just kind of like my thought process, especially being at third, is like these runs are so crucial.
Yeah. I mean, you don't know that there's not going to be a play. It just ended up working that way. It's well as the ball he could have fielded and thrown home. So it's one of those you never know. But we end up getting a 4-2 lead. Then we get out a few times. I thought we were going to make it 5-2 for me getting another walk, but the pitch just barely clipped off the zone for strike three on a full count. So we go bottom of the fifth inning. We're up 4-2 here. And I had told James before the fifth inning even started. I said, if we're tired or we get a lead, I want you to go in and pitch. At that point, they had seen me enough for 4 innings and wanted to give him something different. And I was glad to give James a lead going into that, especially a 2-run lead. James was dealing in that last inning. First batter, it's a ground ball to first base. Tommy Fields just steps on first, and then funny enough, James only threw 8 pitches in this inning. The first pitch was a ball. Second pitch was a ground ball to first base, and then after that, he threw 6 straight strikes straight off the board. Struck out the second batter on 3 pitches, including an absolutely disgusting pitch, which will hopefully be shown now because I'll send Justin the video over.
Let me talk about that thing because it was pure insanity on the field after that pitch. I mean, I think Newton was looking down from the clouds. He's like, oh my gosh, I have to write a 4th law of motion now because James Lee threw the most insane pitch I've ever seen in my life. I know you were also just like, whoa.
He had thrown that pitch a few times earlier in the day, but had not. He hadn't landed on the zone yet. And that was the one pitch that that was the one time he threw it and he landed in the strike zone on an 0-2 count and kind of an experienced pitcher hitter like Pete. He caught him off balance throwing something that no hitter had seen yet at that point from James. So it was something very huge for sure.
Yeah. So I'll put that clip in here once that's sent to me, and then I'll get that in here. But yeah.
Or just look it up yourself.
I could, but I could probably get it from my live that I had out there, but somebody's body got in the way of that one. So you're gonna have to send me the one that.
Man, I've had so many where people been in the way of my stuff, and I was avoiding it so well the whole time, and then apparently that one I didn't know I was in the way, so it was just one of those. It's like
it happens.
There's not much I can do here, but he ends up getting that second out, and then James ends up finishing the job. Getting the third guy out on 3 pitches. Some 3 very good pitches there from James to end the game. We end up winning that game 4-2, and we move on to the final.
Which is crazy to think about getting there to the final. I'm sure you were also surprised just being there after going through all of those teams that we had to go up against, especially the Whippets being probably one of the tougher ones of the day. The most daunting one is definitely the Las Vegas Pharaohs, is who we're going to play in the finals here. They have some really, really good guys, especially Trevor Bauer, not the MLB guy, / MPB player, whatever, Japanese type shit. But Trevor Bauer is another guy who's also really, really good at pitching. They had Randy Dalby, who's also a formidable player. Both of those guys are ranked somewhere on that list nationally. So this is a huge, huge game for us.
Yeah. So as you mentioned, the Whippets did win this tournament last year. Very different style, a couple different players, but we were able to take down the defending champions and guys who a couple of those guys have been top 4 finishers at the World Championships and things like that. But I mean, just kind of getting to that point overall. I knew it was possible for us. I look at the way that things were drawn out, and I said if possible, the 2 teams to kind of avoid the most were the Las Vegas Pharaohs and SoCal Wiffle. which luckily we were able to. They were the 1-4, kind of the 1-4-6 or the 1-4-5-8 kind of split on one side, and the 2-3-6-7 on the other side. We were the 7 seed, so we ended up avoiding them because they were the 1 and the 4 seed. The Pharaohs had just taken out SoCal Wiffle 5-0 in the semifinals, and they were watching the last couple innings of our game and things like that. But we end up getting the Las Vegas Pharaohs. Before that, even I was just very proud of our group to get there. It's one of those. When you have a plan and it all works out together, it's a great thing to see. A big thing I was relying on was the pitching of me and James, especially on Sunday. And with James not really, this is James' first fast pitch tournament. I wasn't 100% sure how he would do. I knew he would do pretty well, but I wasn't. It's just one of those, you just never know with the experience and things like that. But at that point, he had pitched 6 innings, not allowed a single run. So I gave him the ball. My plan was to give him the ball and let him go in the final. And my plan before that had just worked out pretty well with us switching games and stuff. Kind of, there was not a clear. We were both basically 1A. He was like 1A and I was 1B at that point. And that's the way the things worked. And at that point, I was just very happy to be in the final. Given a lot of us, a lot of like, especially the 4 of you, do not have a ton of fast pitch experience. Especially this kind of competition. I was just happy to get here in general.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in a few fast pitch tournaments already, but nothing to the level of where we were, because we never placed against Trevor Bauer. We have done against Randy Dalby, and he was lights out in that first round I ever faced against him. So this is a huge one for sure. And it's definitely up there, and that's exactly how this game ended up being. It was definitely one of the biggest like games out there. Extremely close. I don't know if any of us were expecting it to be this close, but no, to definitely go into it, because I know you're just dying to share all of the nitty gritty stuff about how this game went.
Yeah, so Las Vegas Pharaohs, they had their ace. They had a fresh Trevor Bauer going into the final, who hadn't pitched the whole day or the whole tournament yet. Who's been up to 99 before apparently. In this game we'll talk more about how fast he was throwing. But for our side, we had James Lee, who at that point he had pitched 6 innings, but it's one of those. Yeah, he emptied the tank for that. I had gone 7 innings so far that day. James had gone 6. And plus, I pitched 3 innings the day before, so I wanted to give the guy that was a little more fresh and a little more had been a little bit more dominant so far, not allowing a single run through the day. But it was a great matchup set up. Unfortunately, Jordan did have to leave before the final, but we still had the 4. We had still had the 4 of us, and me, Tommy, James, and Justin, and then they had their 4 in Logan, Tom, Trevor, and Tom. So or Randy. So that's what I meant. That's what I meant. So I think I already said Tom once. So they're the home team. We get things started off. First inning was a couple of zeros from each of the pitchers. Trevor Bauer pitching good, James Lee pitching good. Both guys getting strikes, and I think might have been 3 strikeouts on each shot. I'm not totally sure. Second inning comes up. I start things off with a pop-up, and then we have 3 straight walks from Trevor, who some interesting stuff about why that might have been happening. But they ended up actually pulling Trevor Bauer for Randy Dalby, who Randy had pitched the first 2 games of the day, but unlike the Pete situation, Randy's a very experienced pitcher, is used to pitching many continuous innings throughout the day, and so I never was going to see him as tired, but he came in actually first batter. So we had bases loaded, 1 out. I was the first batter he faced, and he actually walked me, make it a 1-0 game. Got another out, and I believe he walked you as well to make it a 2-0 game with 2 on a full count with 2 outs. And then James struck out, so we end up having a 2-0 lead after the top of the second inning. We go to the bottom of the second inning. They get a couple base runners on. I think they had 1 hit and 1 walk. And then Randy Dalby's up at the plate on James. I think it was either 1-2 or 2-2 counts. Threw a relatively good screwball. Was definitely going to hit the zone. However, in James's words, he left it a little too high. Randy Dalby took it to center field. I thought about making a diving effort, although I would have ran into the camera, which I joked about with their outfielder talking about I would dive into the camera if needed, but the ball was a little too far for me to try to make an effort. I had to actually have some slipping and falling on my butt out there, but they ended up getting a two strike home run to make it a 3-2 ball game. And then after that, it was after that we had our chances in the game. I had a couple more balls in play. They had a couple more rips. I lead off the fourth inning. First pitch, I had an inside riser. I hit it. Would have been a home run if it were fair. I was fouled by probably about like 5 feet or so. But Randy just was really able to keep us off balance and get us to get us out. And then James ended up pitching 3 innings in this game. Only allowing the 3 runs, and by after that, during the third inning, I knew he was hurting. He was having some, like the scap was getting a little sore, and some other stuff, which I knew he couldn't keep pitching for too much longer. But I was trying to ride his arm as much as I could. So fourth inning, I ended up coming in, lead things off. I don't know if you call it an error or a hit, whatever you'd want to call it, to Randy. A couple of strikeouts. The next 2 guys, a walk. And then a great play by Tommy in the outfield, which would have saved over at the first base area, which saved 1, if not 2 runs.
Yeah.
To keep it a 3-2 game. So we get to the 5th inning. James starts things off with a rocket over to the third base side. Probably would have short hopped or hit the fence, or maybe even gone over. Who knows? It was hit extremely hard, but their third baseman, their captain Logan Christie, who was not paying attention at the time, just kind of sticks his hands up, and the ball hits off his hands in the air. It makes the catch, because it literally was first pitch of the inning, and it was just one of those things just did not work out our way. I struck out next, and then Tommy had a ground ball to Randy. He had to lay on the ground but also because he's like 10 feet tall, but he's actually probably like 6'5", 6'6". He's able to use his long body and extend out and flip the ball over to Tom Gannon at first for the third out of the game. And we ended up losing this game 3-2, an extremely close game. But given how much experience is on that team, I think they probably have like 40, somewhere between 40 and 60 years of wiffle ball experience. I was just extremely glad of our team for doing that well and keeping that game that close.
Yeah, I'm sure. I don't think any of us really expected it to be like that, being it that close as it was, especially against a really good team like those guys are. Because if you think about it, and if you know wiffle ball very well, this is a pretty loaded lineup on the other side of the field that they had there. But ultimately, they get the $250 or $1,000 for the whole team. They get the big, nice trophy. But we do get a little consolation prize, $50 each person. So it was pretty nice to at least get something out of it. And it's just a tough way to end things. Don't know how Logan made that play either way after not paying attention, but some things just happen as it does, and you stick your hands out there and you make a great play, and that's exactly what happened. So nothing you can do there, but otherwise, yeah really good game.
It's one of those we were right there in that game, and I was very proud of James for how he did on the whole day. I'm just very proud of our guys in general, especially James pitching wise. It was his first real fast pitch tournament. For his first experience facing other batters, and the fact he kept that. I mean, that's an absolutely loaded 4, and just to have them keep going through again and again and again, and for him to do that well is very, very good on his job. I did all right in my 1 inning versus them, and I would have been ready for more, but we didn't get that far, unfortunately. But it's one of those. It was just some little things that just barely didn't work out for us. It's one of those, like, what if that pitch had been a little lower? What is Randy gonna hit? Is Randy gonna hit that? Otherwise, we'd still talk about a 2-0 game going into the bottom of the 5th inning, and it's one of those. Would have I been able to finish the job there? I like to think I would have, but it's one of those you never know. Maybe we could have got some more offense going and things like that, but. Part of me, to be totally honest, part of me was a little worried. I talked to Dustin about this, and he kind of felt the same. We were both partially worried this could be a blowout, based off of how our day went yesterday and how. I did have to use a lot of me and James to get to this point. Whereas the Pharaohs, they did kind of cruise to get to this point. But I think we gave the Pharaohs their closest game of the tournament, and the fact that we were right there shows a lot for us.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, like you've only played in a couple fast pitch tournaments. So it was Jordan, like for James is his first one. Tommy's played in a few fast pitch tournaments, and then I've had a little more. I played fast pitch tournaments, and I've also gone to the World Football Championships and gone to Arizona. But guys like Randy and Tom, they've been doing this for who knows how long. Just go to any style of tournament and things like that. And then Logan's had a lot of a good amount of experience as well as Trevor Bauer, who funny enough actually used to play baseball with the Hoffmans in college. So that was interesting to find out. But
Waldorf University.
Overall, I'm glad it was as good of a game as it was, and although we didn't come out on top, I mean, I'm still buzzing. I'm still just buzzing and happy over how well we did just overall to get to that point. And it's one of those, like, for me, if we had the full 90-degree field, I think I've got a home run. It's a 3-3 game. It's just one of those. It's just like the little things that sometimes go right on one day. They just didn't quite go right today.
Yeah.
On in that game. So the stuff that happened earlier in the final 8 when I had 2 home runs. It just didn't quite go our way in this one with the amount of hard balls we had hit and things like that.
It's usually how this sport goes, especially like baseball too. It's always the little things that, when they happen in those moments, like they can swing the entire momentum of a game or how you look at it. And I think that's just what brings out the fun in it. Ultimately, especially the sport of wiffle ball, just those little things is what we play for. And if they don't go your way, they don't go away. If they go your way, then you're ending up with a trophy in your hands. And obviously, we didn't end up on that side of things, but congratulations to the Pharaohs. They drove all the way out there to get to that tournament, had to drive back the same day. So they got some gas money and some more on top of it to give themselves a pretty good reward out of it.
Yeah, I mean that those are all real good guys as well. And it's funny to see, with me going to all these different tournaments and stuff. It's funny to see. Oftentimes, usually the better a player is, the nicer they are, and the more that they'll help you out and stuff like that. They'll talk to you. They'll be willing to help you out with stuff. Especially the East Coast guys. They just seem to be so much. They seem to be so much nicer, so much more open to helping you and talk to you and stuff like that compared to West Coast people. But
which is
crazy,
yeah. It's crazy because
you see in some sports you might think it's the opposite. It's just with me going to York, everybody was so open and was like open to helping and stuff, and just willing to listen and things like that. And just the way people act out there, it just seems like they're a lot more chill than some people out here. I'm not going to name any names, but it overall that atmosphere just feels a lot more. It feels a lot more like a big group.
Yeah.
Which also they have a lot more people playing out there. But if there was a team to win this tournament, other than like my team or Dustin's team, I would have wanted to see the Pharaohs win. I'm glad they ended up winning.
Yeah.
They clearly showed they were the best team in this tournament. They went 6-0. They had a stupid run difference. Stuff like that. The SoCal Wiffle, they were close with them in the first pool play game. The second pool, their semifinal game wasn't as close, and then I think we probably gave the Pharaohs their closest game of the tournament, which is what you want to see in a final.
Yeah.
We were right there, but just the difference between the first day and the second day for us was absolutely it just seemed like everything flipped on 180 as soon as James and I went in there to pitch.
Yeah. Yeah, it certainly did. And to your point about the East Coast guys, it's like it must be like a culture shock, especially when you go over there and then you realize like these guys are super nice, but then when you look at them on video, like they're a bunch of like jacked up, like crazy, going nuts, like on even like the smallest plays and stuff like that. And then like you meet them, they're like, oh, these guys are hella nice. So it's wild like how things kind of just go that way. But that's why you shouldn't judge people based on certain things, and you should just Once you know who they are, then it turns out they're really nice people. And I know, like, to your point as well, just to add to that a little bit more, some of the guys like Pete and Randy and all those guys, I saw them talking to James and you a little bit, and they were actually showing James some pitches that he should work on a little bit too, just to make things even better. And that made it so much cooler to be out there and see, like, yo, these guys aren't here for themselves. They're here to, like, because they love this sport and they want other people to be good at it too.
Yeah, and I know even Darren Eastley from the Whippets. I know you mentioned he had messaged you about, he was glad to see a new generation of wiffle ball coming up through the ranks and getting better. So
Yeah.
it it's good to see, is what I'm kind of trying to do with the California area and things like that. But overall, us as a team, it was not very good on Saturday, but it was very good on Sunday. Overall, we finished with a 4-3 record, going 1-2 on Saturday and 3-1 on Sunday. And the big thing for us was on Sunday we had, between our 4 games, we had a run difference of 21-5. We had a plus 16 run difference between the games. We won the first game 10-0, then 5-0, then 4-2, and then lost 3-2. So I mean, throughout the whole day, James pitched 9 innings, only gave up 3 runs. I pitched 8 innings, only giving up 2 runs. So that was huge for us in general, and I was glad to see James do that well in this first fast pitch tournament, things like that. I think that shows a lot of promise for James in the future. We'll see where things go with him, because I got a lot of faith with him in the future. And once those videos come out about him pitching and how I talk about him, I think the people watching will start to understand just how good James Lee is. James Lee is very good in OC wiffle ball, but when you let him loose, I think he's very close to touching 90 miles an hour right now with a wiffle ball, which is absolutely nuts to say. And I mean, I'm right there as well. I'm probably in the 86 to 88 range right now. But James got a huge future ahead of him. I can't wait to see what he's got. But for our team overall, I think we just kept the bats we just got better as the 2 days went on, which is what you want to see. You don't want to be super hot super early and then fizzle out towards the end and lose the game because of that. You want to see you want to see yourself be your best in the biggest games, and that's what I think we were that.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's exactly how that thing turned out. Well, yeah, and like to your point, like you look like you can throw up in the 90s. James Lee does not look like he can do that, but that's how crazy this, I guess, unicorn of a player that he's becoming. And obviously he's still young, so he has a lot of room to still, like, he has a lot higher ceiling than I think a lot of people think.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's just gonna be one of those. How much does he want? How much does he want to do this? He does still have his baseball career. He's a sophomore in high school. We had him on the podcast. Sophomore in high school, playing baseball on the JV team and things like that. No, I'm still playing baseball as well, so that does help us being able to throw hard. And I'm fat right now, to be quite honest. I'm still touching 86, 87 miles an hour. So once I lose some weight, I'll be able to throw a little harder as well. So
it plays a factor.
They say mass equals gas, but to a certain point it doesn't. So
yeah,
I'm just totally honest with myself. I'm trying to. I need to lose some. I'm working on losing some weight, but it was a great way for us to have a good showing and kind of show. Just little league out here in Orange County is able to compete with some of the best wolf ball players in the world. And we were right there and nearly beat them. So it's one of those, on any given day, you never know.
Yeah, never know. If you ever want to check out some of the videos, you can certainly find it on my Instagram, JUSTTATLEE. Those were the first 3 games from that Sunday. Wasn't allowed to do a live stream for the last game because that video is actually going to come out in a few weeks. So if you want to catch that one, keep an eye on SoCal Wiffle Ball's channel because that will be coming out on there, and also have some interviews on that as well, and the whole ceremony of the award and everything else like that. So keep up with SoCal Wiffle Ball's channel; they'll have that on there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was good to our team name out there was OC Football as well, so it's good to be able to represent the league and show what we got. Hopefully, there'll be some stuff on the OC Football Instagram about us in a bit once Anthony returns and gets things going with things around here.
Yes, sir. Well, I guess that will conclude what we have for you in terms of the SoCal Winter Wiffle Ball Classic. Great time, great stuff. Love the people out there, and congrats to everybody that were able to make it out there. And Steven, Home Run Derby champ, Pharaohs.
Unfortunately, I didn't get two of these trophies because the issues with the other one, but I have the one and we got the money, so that's the big thing.
That is true. Get
another trophy to add to the collection.
Does it even fit on your shelf at this point?
No, this thing is way too big. This thing does not go on my shelf up there. Which I don't have just awards up there. I have other stuff up there as well. So, this thing is too. I'd have to move way too many things to put this up there, and I don't really feel like it.
Yes, sir. Okay, now, like we said before, we're going to talk about some of these awards from the Winter 2023 season and share some of the All-American team picks that Steven has laid out for us. Kind of go over through that since we're in, off season now. We're transitioning over to the next year, getting ready for the next spring season. So just a little recap, a little reflection of how that season went. And hopefully your name is up there with the All-American teams. And
if not, you absolutely suck.
Damn. Very honest, I see.
I'm kidding. It doesn't mean you suck.
Yeah. Usually what we typically have done is give predictions of these award winners, but these actually came out the same week we had the last few games.
Like the day after.
Yeah, the day after.
We can't make predictions, so we're just quickly going to go over winners and stuff and what we thought.
Exactly, and then the playoffs happened, and blah blah blah. Here we are. So let's start off. Let's kick things off with the Purple League. Obviously, their awards a little bit different because they only have two of them, which is Male Player of the Year and Female Player of the Year. The first one being Will Cantrell, being the Male Player of the Year. I'm sure Tyler Moore is extremely angry about that one. And then Female Player of the Year is Mackenzie Mayo.
Yeah, so first up with the Male Player of the Year, we had Will Cantrell for the Beach City Dingers, had a 569 average, a 607 on base percentage, 29 hits, 14 home runs, finished second in home runs in Purple League, but just an on base machine, had the highest batting average and on base percentage in the Purple League. And then pitching wise, he didn't really pitch too much in the Purple League at all. Actually, I don't think he pitched it really at all, but his hitting numbers were outstanding here in the Purple League. And then you have from We Got Spice, you have Mackenzie Mayo. She had a 400 batting average, a 462 on base percentage, 3 home runs, 14 hits, 8 singles, a couple triples in there. And then pitching wise, she did pitch a little bit. Had a 90 ERA, 8 innings pitched, 7 strikeouts, 12 runs allowed, which that's relatively good for the Purple League as well. So congrats to those two for winning those awards. 2 new award winners from the past. And also as well here, I have some players I picked out for the Purple League All-American team. I decided to kind of expand the list a little bit, open it up since we have more teams in the Purple League. I try to choose at least a couple from each team. So if you don't hear your name, Joey Potter, too bad. But some of the players I chose, obviously Will Cantrell and Mackenzie Mayo were on there, being the Male and Female Player of the Year. But and then along with that, we have the likes of Tyler Moore, Shelby Balin, Kyle Fromm, Chad French, Katie Shinrock, Brandon Mayo, and Alex Harris, and Chris Garza, kind of making up that All-American team for the Purple League. Anyone you think is snubbed, or anyone you don't think should be there?
No. Besides Joey Ponder.
Yeah, do you think Joey Ponder should be in there?
His numbers are good, in all honesty, but
be nice.
I mean, he was there last year. He's a great guy. Been a friend of the show for a while. I'm sure he's All-American in the glizzy cooking department.
First team all grill man.
Yeah, first team all grill guy. I think that's good enough for him. I don't think he really needs anything else. First team bucket destroyer, as we know.
2 times.
2 times, yeah. 2-time bucket destroyer. But I like this list, and very much so. I think it makes sense in a lot of terms, especially Tyler Moore. It's a great name up there. You can't do Purple League
Is
without
it?
Shelby Balin. Damn. Yeah, Tyler Moore, you suck. Shelby Balin.
Wow.
I'm just kidding. Shelby Balin, good name up there. Kyle Froome was also a big surprise. I liked his numbers. Chad French was another great person up there. Kitty Shinrock was also a big name last season, actually. Brandon Mile, I'm glad to see his name up here. He's definitely a flashback to when he was playing with the Diablos a couple seasons ago, and great to see that he's back here. Alex Harris, no surprise there. Chris Garza, I think it's a good fit. I think this is a pretty good fitting list here of Purple League players, to be honest.
Yeah, it seemed like we had a big group of Purple League players do pretty well, so I decided to expand that Purple League. Plus, we went from 3 teams to 5 teams going into this winter season, so I thought I'd add a little more people. But those are your Purple League award winners. Obviously, as I mentioned, no predictions, especially for the award winners. But that's what I kind of saw for the Purple League. You could divide that into 2 teams if you want to. If I have to split it up like 5 and 5, I'm not going to do that right now. But that's kind of my list. I think it might be more 6 and 5. I think I have 11 people on that list. But but moving on to D2. First award given out to the manager of the year, given out to the Bad News Dinger manager, being Joey Reese. Your thoughts on that?
He's been around for a very long time, actually. Obviously they've had some ups and downs throughout the couple of seasons that they have been here for a while now. Very good golf player. Really knows how to organize a team together. He's kind of kept some of the same guys typically around for a long time. So props to him. They've always pretty much shown up every single season. I know they don't usually do up to the expectations of other teams in the league. But they're a fun group of guys, and I'm glad they're still around. So I think this award is pretty deserving of which for a guy like Joey Reese, and he's been here for a while. So I'm glad. It's good to see that he gets that award out there.
Yeah, I believe this is his first award that he's won in general. So through OC Football. So it's good to see new people winning awards like that. This one was more of an overall award combined when you take into consideration D1 and D2. But yeah, they had the Rookie of the Year being Joel Gonzalez from the OC Juicers. This one he had a 333 average and a 467 on base percentage with 8 home runs on the year, and then pitching wise. Joel Gonzalez had a 10.59 ERA and 17 innings pitched, giving up 30 runs with 8 strikeouts. So, not a bad season for a first-year player at all. This one's kind of because there weren't really a whole lot of rookies in Division One, to be quite honest. But that Rookie of the Year is not just a D2 one; it's kind of an overall one.
Yeah. It makes sense, and this was actually kind of that surprise, player, especially on a team who kind of struggled early on in the season. They started picking things up very late for the OC Juicer, and he was kind of the big reason why they were able to pick it up, things as of late. 8 home runs, 333 batting average, slugging of 800, OPS of 1.267. Not the highest on the team, just behind Chad French, who was basically the star of that team. One of the guys you were looking at to add to that All-American team as well. But Joel Gonzalez had a really good season this year. It's kind of that surprise team. Usually when your team doesn't play as well, you kind of fly under the radar, but it's good to see that they got some recognition out of it through a season that they didn't, maybe not so much as well did great in, but good potential there. Maybe next season they'll be a good group of guys.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see how he does in the future. The Juicers did pick things up as the year went on. The next 3 awards, you have 3 people from the same team being Wiffle D's. You have Alex Harris winning the Cy Young Awards, Chris Garza winning the Silver Slugger Award, and Larry Garza winning the Hank Aaron Award. All 3 of those from the same team. Makes you almost wonder, what if they were available for the playoffs? How things would have worked. But those 3 from the same team do win those 3 awards.
Yeah, and I mean, why not? They're a team that has been doing very good the last couple seasons. Obviously, Wiffle D's has kind of been that household name now in the absence of OC Seals, and they come up short in the playoffs, but they have good players, and there's nothing wrong with that. Obviously, they just have a hump that they got to figure out how to get over, but they have the right guys to do it. And I'm sure when they come back around next season, that they're definitely going to be up there in that conversation of who might be the best team in Division Two, and they're certainly a name that's up there for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Those are your award winners there. They all had some very good numbers within themselves. And then finally to finish thing off, to finish this off, you have the MVP of Division Two, from the World Series champs, being Nicky Ushoff himself, from Whoosh, a guy who played with us for a couple, played with you for one season, played with me for a couple seasons. Had some very good numbers overall. Had a 493 average and a 563 on base percentage, two of the top in division, in Division Two, if not the top, I believe. And then pitching wise, did pitch he didn't really pitch too much, but it was more of his bat that put him in contention for this MVP. His not his first award, but his first MVP, as he won a hitting award back in the summer 2023 season before there were divisions.
Yeah, his talent is definitely Division One worthy of. Certainly shows it because the bat is where he really excels, especially, and we've seen that multiple different times. You talked about that OPS of a 1.707, the high number of home runs, 14 all in total. He's a great player overall. You and I both know the kind of power that he has, which is very ironic that he got this award because, I mean, regular season MVP is what he got technically, but actually wasn't there for the World Series. But ultimately, Whoosh won that World Series, and it's kind of ironic the fact that he wasn't a part of that. But it's great that they actually got a win, and that adds a title to your name, I guess, unintentionally.
Another eligible C player winning an MVP. What a shock!
Oh my god, yeah.
What do you know?
But in all seriousness, it's good to see that a guy like Nicky Ushoff really excel where he is. Anyway, so you had your picks for Division Two All American team. Go ahead.
Yeah. Congrats to Nick, and congrats to those other winners as well. Division Two, I just did one team here. I've got 9 players on the list here for Division Two. 9 players from 4 teams. A lot of award winners here. I know Nick Ushoff obviously had to be on here. Chris Garza, Larry Garza, Alex Harris, they obviously had to be on here. At the Rookie of the Year, Joel Gonzalez on here. Manager of the Year, I put Joe Reese on here. He also had some very good numbers, not just as a manager, but also as a player during the season as well. He had some good numbers as well. And then also to help fill out that list, I had his teammate Shane McCoy. I then had from Whoosh, I had Drew Plant, and then also from the OC Juicers, I had Chad French. So those are the 9 that I chose and decided to put into the All American team for Division Two. Anything anyone you know of or can think of that got snubbed or anything? Do you think anyone that's on here that should not be here?
Batting wise, Shane McCoy was an interesting pick. I like that name though. I thought Alan Yakovlev had some interesting numbers as well. 7 home runs, 1.6.
When you combine the pitching as well, I think when you like Alan did not have an innings pitch, whereas Shane McCoy was that number 2 pitcher on the Bad News Dingers.
Okay, I see. So that makes sense. For the batting stuff, I think Allen did have some better stats there, 387 batting average. But we could put them in the honorable mentions in that aspect, or second team if you want to. And then also honorable mention Ryan Miller had a 405 average. I don't think he's up there with that list, but I think he's definitely right around that same radar. 1.45 OPS, certainly had some better numbers that we have typically seen from Ryan in the past few seasons. So also I'm glad to see Ryan really doing well in Division Two, and it's good to see a fellow teammate or former teammate of mine do great out there.
Yeah, it's almost like people do better outside of the other. We'll see. We'll see how true that holds for Jordan. As I found that's actually not a joke, by the way. I found that they weren't actually breaking me, but that's a whole other story. But congratulations to those people. That's who I had in my list. Now we move on to the big one. We move on to Division One. Some of those award winners. We already talked enough about the home run derby champion, All-Star Game MVP. No one cares. Put your award away, Justin. So we already talked about that enough. No, put it away. We don't want to see it.
You get
No,
to show off your
sit
home run
down.
trophy. I get to show
Sit
this off.
down.
Yeah.
Sit down.
It's the only one I get out of all these.
Let us know in the comments which one is nicer, that one or this one.
No one needs to know. They already know which one's bigger.
Yeah, and I said better.
That's just for you to compensate for your,
For my what? Keep going.
cucumber. Anyways, let's move on.
Says the Asian.
Hey! Okay, that's fair. That's fine. That's fair.
As I mentioned, there was no Rookie of the Year for Division One. That was just more of an overall one because there weren't really a whole lot of rookies in Division One, to be quite honest. So,
Yeah.
next award we have for Division One is the Relief Pitcher of the Year. That one goes out to Blake Fitzgerald, who was very much in consideration for MVP and Cy Young, but I think that last week ended up not doing the best for his numbers. But he had a 3.45 ERA, 47 innings pitched, 77 strikeouts, only allowing 27 runs the whole year, with a K through 9 of 9.83. Just a great season overall from Blake, and as we continue to see him blossom and really step into that number one role.
Yeah, for sure. Especially in the absence of Mo Wright, who wasn't there for a majority of the season. Basically wasn't, much there at all. Yeah.
Yeah. I said the majority is like, in this situation, he was not there at all.
Yeah, basically. He had a pretty good season, picking up, becoming the ace of the team, basically. And a big reason why the Trash Pandas basically made it to the World Series. Obviously, they didn't win it ultimately. The second time they made it to the World Series and haven't gone over the hump. But this is a reason why they're also a big playoff contender and why they're a formidable team of guys, especially from a few seasons ago. They definitely struggled, being a part of the league, early on. And now they've come out here and they're basically a household name in OC football now because of those guys.
Yeah, as we mentioned with our tournament, just making it to that final is a big accomplishment in itself. And for them to make it in their second and third seasons out here in OC football, adjusting to the style of play is very good for them. Next award we have on here is the Manager of the Year, and that one goes out to the Avocados manager, being Lucas Sardo, who we've had on the podcast before. He also had some good numbers himself, had a 409 average with a 536 on base percentage, 18 hits overall with 4 home runs, and also had some good pitching numbers as well, some improved pitching numbers from the previous seasons. But he is your Manager of the Year, is Lucas Sardo.
Yeah, definitely. I know there's some rumors going around that the Avocados are most likely not going to be around for the next season. That's going to be a huge loss for the league. We really enjoyed having him on the show and all those guys because we always have fun when we're playing against them. I love having conversations with a few of those guys. Some of those guys actually know a few friends of mine's, and I know a few friends of theirs. So
Are you have friends?
Shut up. Apparently you're my friend, and that's saying something. Lucas Sardo, he kind of keeps his guys together. They always show up with basically almost all their guys every game. But it is going to suck with them not being around if that is ultimately what happens this upcoming season. Hopefully they'll eventually come back if that's true. But they're a good group of guys, and I think this is deserving for Lucas Sardo for sure at the manager spot.
Yeah, we will see what happens with them. But let's keep it on a positive note. I know they didn't have the season that they wanted to, but we appreciate them coming out, and for Lucas for organizing that group and continuing to help his guys improve and things like that. If they were to come back, maybe things would be. It's just you never know with a certain season. Sometimes things go the way you want, sometimes they don't. It just happens. But next up on the award list, we have the Hank Aaron Award, which in this instance ends up being given to Tyler Moore here. Tyler Moore, hitting wise for him, had a 455 average with a 543 on base percentage, 35 hits overall on the year, with 14 home runs, just getting that edge in the home run lead. So he walks away with the Hank Aaron title.
Yeah, I feel like with the person that we're going to talk about with the next award, that could have been flipped because he didn't exactly have the because typically when you think of Hank Aaron Award, it's given to the person with the best overall hitting stats. Person with the Silver Slugger usually gets it as they have the best like slugging percentage slash home runs in the league. Tyler Moore had more home runs. Very good. Yeah. Wow. Very good slugging percentage. But he was also up there for the MVP conversation as well, especially this season. He kind of really picked it up in terms of hitting wise, because I guess his brother Zach wasn't there for a big chunk of the season. Then all of a sudden, surprise, he comes in. But Tyler Moore I think this is very deserving for him. Obviously, there was a better player in terms of the MVP who we know very well. But for Tyler Moore, hey, some really good stuff coming out of the Beach City Bombers.
Yeah, and apparently Tyler Moore knows that MVP very well as well. I guess as they went by my back and figured some stuff out. And now they're teamed up, so I guess they know each other pretty well. But that's another story for when OC football starts up. But
no comment.
I do kind of agree. I do kind of agree with you. I would have thought the Hank Aaron and Silver Slugger Award would be switched. Tyler didn't have the better OPS than the Silver Slugger winner, but he did have more home runs, and that's usually what I see the Silver Slugger Award being given out to.
Mm-hmm.
But the Silver Slugger Award this year was given out to Stephen Hayden. You can't boo that guy or whatever.
Yeah, we don't like that guy. What the hell?
Finished with the highest batting average in the league at .493. I think he was third in on base percentage. He had a .600 on base percentage. The only two people to finish above him both had plus like a 40% walk rate, including one guy at a 49% walk rate. Which Nick, just get a life, just get a life, please.
You gotta get
I'm
the
kidding.
bro.
I'm kidding, but it's like, come on, really, a 49%, brother, come on. But Steven at .493 average, a .600 on base percentage. Over 1,000 slugging percentage and a 1,667 OPS. Finished with the most hits in the league, the most singles in the league, and was just one shy of being tied for the home run lead. Had 13 compared to Tyler Moore's 14. Also only had 20 walks on the year. Only got out 38 times in 95 at bats, which is quite impressive in itself. But your thoughts on Stephen Hayden winning the Silver Slugger Award?
Yeah, like I said before, it definitely could have been switched around with the two awards, but another great season here. Basically a late season push to go for the MVP was also really right up there. Basically, if you had one more home run, right there with Tyler Moore. Had another great season. Obviously, would have been nice for him, I guess, to get MVP 3 times in a row or something like that. But boo. But on a positive note, the pitching was also very good this season once again. I know this is not about pitching. This is more about offensive stuff. But obviously a big contributor of typically why the LA Whistle OC always do pretty good, especially in these last couple of seasons, getting back-to-back World Series titles now. So going to be around for a while. So get your seatbelt buckled, guys.
Yeah, and the fact that this was considered a down season for him is kind of it's a very shocking thing. I'm sure a lot of people would take this as their best season, but for me, actually, in my 7 seasons, this is actually only the second time I've batted below 5. I've had a below 500 average, so very weird to see. I had above 500 until the last week, until Blake Fitzgerald ruined that for me. But though he does finish with the highest batting average, with the higher on base percentages and stuff like that. Like you said, I would have thought he would have been the Hank Aaron Award winner, but it is what it is. I think Tyler and I have to do some swapping of awards, but it is what it is. I already have one of each of those already, so that's 2 Silver Sluggers in a year for Steven. Next award coming up here, the Cy Young in a very close ERA race, by the way. But the Cy Young Award winner was from the OC Wolves of LA, and that is going to Mr. James Lee, who we just talked about extensively, the pitching of him and Steven, but in this case the pitching shows out for James Lee here. For him pitching wise, 3.42 ERA, which I'll go into detail some of the ERAs that were right around his. Had a K through 9 of 14.92, 38 and 2/3 innings pitched, 96 strikeouts, only allowing 22 runs on the year, as their team just missed out on being in the playoffs. Your thoughts on James Lee winning the Cy Young?
Yeah, like you said, there was a lot of ERAs that were probably better than his. on that side of things. But on that note, one of the guys who had the better ERA obviously got a different award. So we won't talk about that. But James Lee, I think the big thing was because of the number of strikeouts that he had on the season, which is 96, which is a huge number, almost 20 up on the next guy under that list, which would have been, I believe, Blake Fitzgerald. If I'm looking at, yeah, Blake Fitzgerald with 77 Ks. And the guy came in as Rookie of the Year last season. Really good on the pitching side. We kind of knew where his ceiling was, and once again, building back on that ceiling. He actually didn't even think he was going to get an award for this season, but surprise, here we are talking about James Lee being the Cy Young Award winner for this winter season.
Yeah, so we'll go through some of these ERAs. James Lee actually finished with the second lowest ERA in Division One this year, which we'll talk about first. We'll talk about who finished in front of him in just a minute.
Me,
but some of the guys who were behind him. So James had a 3.42 ERA. You had Tyler Moore who had a 3.43 ERA. You had Blake Fitzgerald who had a 3.45 ERA.
yeah.
You had Stephen Hayden who had a 3.56 ERA. You have three guys who are right around him. And you have a guy like Evan White who had a 4 ERA. So you have those guys who are right around him, especially the difference between James and Tyler Moore was .01 in terms of the ERA. But that innings pitched and the strikeouts is absolutely ridiculous. I would have to do some real quick math here, but try to figure out how many strikeouts per inning he's averaging. But 38 and 2/3 innings pitched, and then to have 96 strikeouts like that is absolutely ridiculous. Actually, let me do some on camera math. So 38 times 3 plus 2, that's 116. Minus he had 96 strikeouts on the year. If I can find it correctly, he had 96 strikeouts.
Mm-hmm.
So only 20 of the outs he got were not from strikeouts. And so 96 divided by 116. So 82 points. So 82, basically 83% of his outs that he got were strikeouts. Which, for people who don't remember, back in the spring 2023 season, True Hendrickson's amazing strikeout ratio, in which he had 98 strikeouts and 34 and a third innings pitch, which he basically in the 102 outs that he got, he recorded 93. He only 4 of them were not strikeouts. So you can kind of see what kind of arc James was on and what kind of arc True was on back in the day. So it was a very close ERA race, and I know Blake was very much in it as well. Blake obviously won the relief pitcher of the year, but James walks away here with the Cy Young winner. And then now we get to the big one. We get to I decided to retire from the MVP award. It was kind of my goal before the season to have either. And to have one, I said it'd be really cool if one of my other teammates won it, such as a James Lee, a Dustin Staggs, or a Jordan Dressler. Speaking of Jordan Dressler is your MVP. Had a 473 batting average and a 571 on base percentage. 12 home runs on the year, 35 hits in total. Look at all those. It's like, well, he's not even the best hitter on his team. Which is kind of, that's saying a lot considering he has Steven on his team, but. The pitching number, I really let Jordan take over as the number one pitcher on our team, and man, did he do that! He had 29 innings pitched. He had a 1.24 ERA, a K through 9 of 13.45, 29 innings pitched, 65 strikeouts, only allowed 6 runs the whole year, and a couple of those were, and 2 of those were actually scored in the very last game of the year as well. But overall, just a great season from Jordan. Your thoughts on how his season went? Kind of seeing it firsthand, being his teammate.
Personally, I thought I had better pitching stats because I have 0 ERA and 1 inning pit. No, I'm just kidding. Look,
wait. Oh, nobody asked.
Shut. I asked. But in all seriousness, Jordan Drexler. I mean, we were looking for that, reason to give why. It's maybe not just Steven who's contributing to this team, but of multiple couple guys, but really this season Jordan really picked it up this year. And on the pitching side of things, the 1.24 ERA, that's huge. We saw him win Cy Young a few years back, or like last year or whatever. Um,
Yeah, like 5 6 seasons ago. Like 5 seasons ago.
yeah, 5 seasons ago, and really did great in that pitching. But that was a different time, different era. Pitching, hitting it in this league, and pitching has gotten a lot different now, especially with the amount of talent that we're getting in here. And he tried a lot of new things this season, and wanted to be dominant, as he could. And that's exactly what happened. And he gets an award to add to his shelf, and prove why he's one of the better players in this league. And it certainly shows you why. Pitching and hitting, both sides. He's a fantastic two-way player, and probably one of the best left-handed hitters in the league now.
Yeah, yeah. It's amazing to see where he's come from. Um, it it's amazing to see. When he first joined the team to where he is right now. And obviously the big news in the offseason is the fact that he's not going to be with us, despite the fact that we went undefeated for a whole year and were the first one seed ever to win the World Series. I'm interested to see how he does on the Beach City Bombers, if his numbers are going to dip at all, or if they're going to improve. You never know. But congrats to Jordan. We also talked about him earlier with the tournament. He was on that tournament team that ended up finishing in second place, but. Had a very good season. I kind of let him take the reins over in terms of pitching and stuff. Let him be that number one guy. And the improvement I've seen from some stuff I've taught him and from some stuff he's been working on has been great to see. So I wish him the best as he and until he's facing us, which in that case we are going to absolutely rake off of him. But we shall see.
Yes, sir.
So congratulations on all those D1 winners. We now get into the D1 All-American teams. I decided to do 2 teams of 6 here. So the first team will have 2 6 players, and the second team will have 6 players, obviously, as I just said. So starting off with Team 2, I'll save the best for last. For Team 2, I put 6 players. I've got, from the Trash Pandas, I've got Ryan Swanson, and I've also got Michael Haskell from them. From the Beach City Bombers, I put in Charlie Phillips. From Shepherd's Pie, I put in Anthony Agrusa. From the Avocados, I put in Daniel Lukac. And then from the Ellisville Sea, I decided to give the Make-A-Wish kid a chance, and I put in Justin Lee into the Division 2 team.
Make-A-Wish.
into the second team All-American.
You can call me short, but that's kind of low, man.
Well, so are you. So short, low, no. What are your thoughts on those 6? Do you think is anyone you think is being left off of this this team 2 here?
No, not by too far. I think this is a good list of people right here, so to speak, in terms of just looking at the numbers for a lot of these guys. Obviously, Ethan Raffin could also be placed up there potentially. I think that's more of an honorable mention name, to be honest. He had another pretty good season for himself. I like Ryan Swanson. He had a very good season this year. Michael Haskell, I know personally, always is a great player. Charlie Phillips was actually a surprise one to me, but obviously he had a pretty good season. Anthony Grusa, obviously, always up there as well. Daniel Lusak is another great player as well. This is apparently my second time being on the All-American team or the second All-American team, which is great. The last time I was on here was my rookie season, back in 2022, that fall season.
That was a long time ago.
That was a long time ago, so it's nice to be back up there, man. Thank you very much. You made my wish come true.
I got you. You did pretty well with yourself at 350 average and stuff, but now we get into the big one, to the Division 1 All-American team number 1, the top 6 in my opinion. Starting off here, we have our manager of the year. These are not just based off award winners; these are based off the numbers and stuff as well. But I think all 6 of these players did win awards as well. So we have Lucas Sardo in here. I mentioned some of the stats earlier: 409 average, a 536 on base percentage, 18 hits for him, and then pitching wise, he was also very good. Had a 7.43 ERA, 21 innings pitched, 26 runs allowed, 40 strikeouts, a K through 6 of 11.43. Which is interesting to see. Some of these are K through 9, some of these are K through 6, but interesting. But it seemed like he improved a lot. He had a little bit of a bounce back season. I saw some of the pitches were working better. I know he frustrated our team a couple of the times that we played. So He had a very good season. Next up, we have Blake Fitzgerald from the Trash Pandas. Blake Fitzgerald was very close in the MVP race. Have finished with a 408 batting average, of 554 on base percentage, 20 hits for him, 11 home runs, and then pitching wise, obviously he did win the relief pitcher of the year. Had a 3.45 ERA, 47 innings pitched, 77 strikeouts. Had the most innings pitched and was second in strikeouts, and then allowed 27 runs on the year. Next person on here is the Cy Young Award winner, James Lee. Went over his pitching numbers earlier, but going over his hitting numbers, he had a 377 average with a 535 on base percentage. 20 hits for him on the year with 8 home runs. James Lee is in there from the OC Wolves of LA. Next up in there is Tyler Moore from the Beach City Bombers. Tyler Moore was also very close in that MVP race. Had it finished with a 450. Who is your Hank Aaron Award or Silver Slugger, however you want to define it. But he was Hank Aaron Award winner. 455 average, 543 on base percentage, 35 hits on the year, 14 of those being home runs, leading the league in home runs. Only 15 walks on the year, so he had more singles than walks, which is always nice to see. And then pitching-wise, had a 3.43 ERA, 35 innings pitched, 66 strikeouts with 20 earned runs allowed in the K through 9 of 11.31. And then our final two people, from the undefeated through a whole season, by the way, the first ever 1 seed to win, the other was supposed to see. We have the former 2-time MVP winner, Stephen Hayden, on this list. We talked about his hitting stats already. And some of his pitching stats were pretty good as well. Not as good as the summer or fall season, but like I said, I let Jordan do a lot of the pitching for us. 3.56 in ERA, 27 innings pitched, 60 strikeouts, only allowing 16 runs on the whole year with a K through 9 of 13.33. And then finally, you have the MVP himself leading the way, Jordan Dressler. Talked about all his numbers already as we worked our way through the MVP conversation. So that is your list of 6. You got Jordan Dressler, Stephen Hayden, Tyler Moore, James Lee, Blake Fitzgerald, and Lucas Sardo. What are your thoughts on that team 1, or anyone you think should be moved up from team 2 to team 1 or something like that? And don't say yourself.
Yeah, I should be up there. What the heck, man? Make my wish come true, man. I'm just kidding. The thing is about this list of group of guys, and I know this might sound a little bit biased, but I don't think any of these guys could be switched out of here. Lucas Sardo has typically been up there. He always will be because he's an integral part of the Avocabros team. Obviously, always doing very good on the hitting side of things, and he's also the reason why he has won many awards for his squad as well. The thing is about the other 5 guys is that they, for the majority of the season, they were also in that MVP conversation. Like, it almost came down neck and neck towards the very end between all 5 of these guys. So it's kind of hard to say they probably should.
The 5 guys.
Yeah, the 5 greasy burgers. And between all these 5 dudes that are up here, they all were in that part of that MVP conversation. So you can't exactly say they should have been in the second team when they really don't. They definitely deserve to be up here amongst this group of players in the first team All-American, because they were all right there in the MVP conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. This is one of the closer MVP races we've had. Jordan, I think it was just Jordan's pitching numbers at the end really kind of put him away from the rest. Even though he didn't have the best hitting numbers in the league, his pitching numbers were far away in the best. If he wasn't the MVP, and then he'd be the Cy Young and things like that. So,
right.
Very, very good season for those for him, and very good season for all those guys in general. So that's your Division 1 first and second team here. And those are all the awards that we have to talk about. So congratulations to all those people who did win. We unfortunately did not get given the chance to do predictions, given the fact the awards came out before we could do this podcast. But congratulations to all those winners.
Yes, sir. Certainly is. Congratulations to all the people who got those. I guess the glasses, bats. You got bats for World Series or whatever plaque, type of thing.
Yeah, nice. Are we getting? You're the only one with a plaque. All right, relax there.
I'm just kidding. This is the only time I get to cheer because I don't think I'm ever going to get another one again. Anyways, even then it was an asterisk. Like, we didn't have a lot of guys out there.
Are you saying it was a bubble award?
It literally is a bubble award. It's shaped like a bubble. Like, you're not wrong.
Oh my goodness.
Anyway, so now that we have looked back on 2023, which has been an eventful year for both of us, obviously you've been around the league a lot longer, but we had some good times in 2023. A lot of good wiffle ball, and learned a lot about how the process works and how a lot of the tournaments work. So I'm glad to be a part of this journey with you and many of the other people who are also along here on the ride in terms of reflection. So it's a great time to. It's a great time to really look back on all those good memories and keep those close, because no regrets whatsoever. I've had a really good time playing wiffle ball with a lot of the people who have been in a part of these leagues. Especially the Upland, well, into SoCal tournaments that they've had out there, and then most importantly, OC wiffle ball for sure. I've made a lot of mostly lifelong friends, and some people I never thought I would get along with. So I'm grateful to be a part of this.
Yeah, well, no, we can look back at this a little more. Just 2023 in general, your first full year being in the league and first full year playing wiffle ball. What were some of your favorite memories just of wiffle ball in general for you personally?
No, I mean, if I have to really go back, I mean, it's just being able to be somewhat of a good player. That first season, obviously that was 2022, but it felt really sweet to be able to win that first World Series. I think that was a big one on the top of that list there. And then, you go into summertime and maybe your season doesn't go out as well, but really exploring the world of wiffle ball, going to like the upland tournaments really opened my eyes to this whole other thing about how crazy some of these people are, and seeing it up close and personal, because when you see all these clips online of all these players, you're just like, wow, that's pretty crazy. But just to see it in person is always more insane than it actually looks on video. And if you ever get a chance to, it's really crazy. One of the things I really would like to do this upcoming year is definitely go out to the York, Pennsylvania games, if that is possible. But being able to be part of a team that has put together 3 World Series, and including a summer tournament award as well, has also been a great memory as well. And being a part of that, and then most importantly, 0 ERA.
Yeah, and you finish off the year with your first award in OC in wiffle ball history. And you also end up getting your first ever this year you finished off with your first All American team nomination and things like that. So
Yes, sir.
I mean, first one since last year at least. So
Yeah.
lot of great memories for you. For me,
Yeah. What's yours?
some of the stuff you talked about, you wanted to do like the York, Pennsylvania stuff. I did have the chance to do. That was absolutely insane to be able to. I mean, basically anyone you wanted to go meet out there was out there. All the MLW guys, any of the best fast pitch guys, get to see all the Juggernauts guys play. And seeing Jordan Robles for the first time before 2 weeks later I had to go pitch against him in Arizona. That was insane. That first OC the OC Football Championship was really sweet as well. In the spring of 2023, just the group, kind of putting that group together and bring it all together. It wasn't the best overall team we had, but it was just one of those. It was the sweetest. It was probably the sweetest memory to have. Coming back that Monday night and coming back from a 1-0 deficit to the number 1 team and beating them, and then getting the sweep in the World Series. Then continuing on the fall and the Winter World Series and getting that first undefeated season ever, being that first ever 1 seed to win the World Series and breaking that curse of like 11, 12 seasons for Anthony, whether it be through OC Wiffle Ball or through the Clemson Wiffle Ball back in the day for him. A lot. I mean, having stuff with the SoCal Wiffle Ball and being involved in that's been very cool as well. Being able to play in that and starting off from that tournament, the end of the year tournament last year, to where I just met Dustin, to being at the point where I am now, helping him with that league as well, and also going to the other side of the country with him to go play wiffle ball, whether it be in Pennsylvania or driving out, or have a Friday in October where I throw a couple innings in baseball, and then the next day I'm out in Arizona throwing to Jordan Robles and Toast and all those guys is absolutely insane. To have the chance to play against those guys is very cool, and I hope to continue to do that in the future. So this year's been a very big year wiffle ball wise, and it's kind of started to be my growth of that, and then possibly my favorite memories. It was this last tournament that we had this past year, or well, it was this past year, but the past week. Being at that tournament, being able to finish in second place, having that run that we did on Sunday, see the way we all gelled together, all five of us, and I know some of us have talked about possibly doing this again, competing in more stuff as this team of five. We'll see if we're able to do that. We'll see if that's able to happen. But that was a very exciting tournament. The fact that we nearly won that one was insane in and of itself, given the team we were playing. That was extremely good for me, and it was cool for as a manager. This year was very cool, seeing a lot of the stuff that I plan out work the way I wanted to, and it all kind of accumulated with that end of the year tournament, which James and I just kept working off each other pitching wise, and we ended up doing a great job for the team, and even seeing the growth of guys like Justin Lee continuing to get better, Jordan Dressler get better, expanding the Ellis Fossey into two teams, and still seeing both teams have success. And I know the OC Waffles of LA this season, I think they're going to have a lot of success this year, especially if they can get the right piece. So I'm looking forward to them doing good. Obviously, it was a kind of a sour note losing Jordan at the end of the year, but hopefully that's just for a season, and he's going to come right back to us. We're still gonna have him with the group playing in these tournaments and things like that. So it's been a big year for wiffle ball wise. I'm starting to put my name out there wiffle ball wise. I'm starting to put the name of OC wiffle ball out there as well. Kind of let people know that exists and things like that. So. I'm hopefully I'll continue to just keep becoming one of the better wiffle ball players in the California area, if not the country. And I'd love to make that drop 100s at some point in my life. So 2023 was a big year for me wiffle ball wise, and we'll see where 2024 leads. But right now I need a wiffle ball break.
Yeah. I think everybody does. Yeah. Especially my brothers who were participating in the tournament. They came back because they were the main pitchers in those pool 3 games, and they said their arms felt like they were going to fall off, and that's usually just what happens when you play in those fast pitch tournaments and playing in 3 games in a row. You just kind of get sore after a certain point, pitching a lot. Obviously, I don't know what that feels like, but I was definitely sore after running all the bases that day as well. So
I like for 3 days I couldn't. I couldn't lift weights. I couldn't do much of anything, and finally it wasn't until the 4th. It wasn't until January 4th that I could that I played catch again. And I got to go to the gym, and I was able to go to the gym and stuff like that. So, and I'm still battling a little bit of sickness just from being. I mean, I'm out there 12 hours each day, and things like that. So. This year was wild for us, and I'm looking forward to see what 2024 has to offer. I maybe won't win as much OC wiffle ball wise, but it's one of those like you never know.
Never know. A lot of good things to look forward to in the next year of 2024. Got a lot of good expectations. Hopefully, with the amount of experience that we've had in a year, maybe that'll test to or translate into something even bigger. Especially how what we did in that week last week in that tournament could really help elevate it to another level.
Yep, never know.
Yes, sir. A little bit look forward into what 2024 will look like because we have the schedules coming out. The registration is currently up now on OC Wiffle Ball's website. There is a discount, and it will end, like you said earlier, January 11th. So that will go up to $95. Currently at $85 right now. You have the option of, referring a team if you want to waive your membership. If you're a team captain, you can get a little discount for yourself. So if you're looking to sign up, then now's a good time before the 11th deadline. I know typically in the past he's also extended it. So, but don't hope for that. Try to sign up as soon as possible if you are able to and get your team together and get ready for a new season, which is starting on January 16th. So coming up pretty soon here, and it'll end around April time. And then the summer is also up there as well. You can also pay for both seasons if you can make it to both seasons. The summer one starts on April 16th, goes all the way till the end of June. So that'll be right around that time, and then I'm guessing we're gonna have some other things going on after that. But for now, the most part, if you want to check out those schedules, they're up there. But spring season, January 16th, and summer, April 16th.
Yeah, and if you want to check out the full schedules, you can go to OrangeCountyWithBall.com. Search under the spring and summer 2024 schedules. You can get a full idea of what they are. A couple big days in there. We have a couple off weeks in there, like January 30th and March 12th. The All-Star Game at Home Run Derby is currently scheduled for Saturday, March 16th. And you have the Spring 2024 World Series taking place on Tuesday, April 2nd, with the playoffs being April 1st. So no April Fool's jokes out there. You'll be playing the playoffs. So, and then similar stuff with the Summer 2024 schedule. Which, I mean, that's far away. I don't need to mention that too much right now. But the main one is the spring one, because obviously that's the first one that's going to happen. There will be, looks like, if you're in the World Series, there will be a 2-week break between the spring and the summer World Series. You know, we saw, especially with like the fall and winter seasons, those were just continuous back to back, no breaks at all. So you get a little 2-week break in there. We'll see what happens with this stuff, and we'll see if there's anything in terms of any OC football tournaments and stuff, anything to replicate that OC Summer Classic. We'll see if anything comes up with that at some point during the year. But overall, that's the main stuff with the schedule. Just look, no, we're not too far away.
Yeah, just a couple, almost 2 weeks out as the time we're recording this, and it'll pretty much come as fast as you'd think it will. Like maybe through like a snap, it'll just be right there. So everybody get ready. Here we go, 2024. Can't wait to see what we got.
Absolutely. You know, is this the end of the LOC reign over the league? We'll have to see with no Jordan Joshua around, but who's going to be here and who's going to step up to take over 2024? We'll see what happens. It's going to be very exciting to see, no matter who it is.
Ooh, a lot of drama coming. Well, this has been the conclusion of episode 37. Make sure you guys, keep up with all the OC Wiffle stuff, of course. Obviously, we're going to be always covering everything for you. And got to get ready, getting closer to the 50 episode mark. That's crazy. Got to get to the 40 mark, though, first. But Justin Lee, Stephen Hayden, episode 37 of That Scuffed Up. Almost at 34. But we shall see you guys in the next episode. Have a good one and Happy New Year.
We rich.